These days, it seems like to call yourself a fan of a card game, you almost have to constantly be complaining about the people that run the card game that you love so much. Think about it, Pokemon, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh! If you go on any social media and look up the people that are talking about those card games, they're probably complaining about a recent decision. A few weeks ago, I made a video about Ghost from the Past 2 and its initial announcement, and I talked about how a lot of people were not very happy with how Konami was handling that set. However, this week I want to talk about two other things that people are complaining about. One of them is a bit older, so I'm sure people have kind of forgotten about it, but I never got a chance to discuss it. And then the other one is brand new that people are just now complaining about. There was an announcement yesterday that people were not very happy with. I want to talk about the more recent complaint first. So the context for this complaint is that in the OCG, which we've covered a few times on the channel here, they have a set called Duelist Pack Duelists of the Abyss. This set has all sorts of water support. I've covered the Mako Tsunami support, I've covered a little bit of the Shark support, but also it had some Marincess support as well, which I never got a chance to talk about. This set actually has been pretty well received by the community, especially the Mako Tsunami support cards, which a lot of people think are going to be at least a rogue deck. However, yesterday we got the new pack artwork for the TCG version of this set, which is now called Legendary Duelist Duels from the Deep, and people are pissed, and I mean pissed. Like, I am so surprised at how many people were angry when they saw this pack artwork. Personally, I don't really care too much about it, but people were angry, and I want to talk about why. The big change here is that instead of having Shark and his boss monster on the cover art, we now have Mako Tsunami and his boss monster instead. The inside of the set is still going to be the same. We're still going to have the Mako Tsunami cards and the Shark cards and the Marincess cards, but people were not happy about this because this is once again an example of Konami appealing to the old school Yu-Gi-Oh audience while not really caring about the newer series of Yu-Gi-Oh. Now, I'm going to admit here, I mean, you guys probably aren't that surprised if you've been following me for any amount of time, but I don't really know a lot about the Zexal series. I don't really watch any of the newer Yu-Gi-Oh series, not so much because I don't think they're good, but rather because I'm not the biggest fan of anime in general. But from what I've read, at least on Twitter, Zexal was a huge series in the OCG. People love that series, but here in the TCG, maybe it's not as popular. So from Konami's perspective, that's probably why they switched it out. However, I will say here that I totally get where people are coming from with saying that Konami always appeals to those super old school Yu-Gi-Oh fans. It seems like no matter what product they are selling, they are going to try to fit one of the original series characters on the cover, or there'll be like a card from the original series on the pack artwork, even if it's not that big of a deal. People recently used the example of the Rush Duel game that just released. On that cover for the English release, there are cards like Blue Eyes and Dark Magician and Red Eyes on there, even though they're not that important to the Rush Duels format. And I'm sure I'll get some hate for saying this, but I kind of do understand where Konami is coming from with this decision. The original Yu-Gi-Oh series is by far the most popular Yu-Gi-Oh series out there. People that haven't played Yu-Gi-Oh or thought about Yu-Gi-Oh in 10 years, 15 years, probably still remember those original characters. So putting Freaky Fish Guy on the cover art of your pack is a pretty good decision if you want to appeal to those older school fans. Furthermore though, the Mako Tsunami cards in this set are the most hyped. They probably will be the most competitively viable, so that is a big reason to put Mako Tsunami on the cover art instead of Shark. But I also feel like this creates a feedback loop where Konami promotes the older school characters because they're recognizable, but then because they only promote those characters, they become even more recognizable, so in the future they promote them even more because people don't know enough about the newer characters. Nostalgia is big right now. People love thinking about the past. A lot of companies, not just Konami, are using nostalgia to sell products, but I feel like nostalgia has a limit and we're getting pretty darn close to that limit. You can't make every single pack a reference to the original series. Eventually people are going to want something new. And in this case, I think they easily could have not changed it to Mako Tsunami, and I think this set still would have sold pretty well. Not to mention they would have appealed to the Zexal fans that honestly haven't gotten that much recognition in the recent years. So I think that Konami didn't really need to do this, and they've only really brought negative press by changing this pack artwork. But I'm not Konami's marketing department. I'm sure that they knew people would be angry about this change, but maybe they just looked at it and said, okay, some people are going to be mad about this on Twitter, but at the end of the day, this is going to sell this set more than if Shark was on the cover. Next up, I want to talk about a complaint from a few weeks ago, but it's just too funny to ignore. I haven't gotten a chance to talk about it until now, but it's really hilarious. So basically in November, we got some OCG reveals for the Fallen of Albaz structure deck, and that structure deck is going to be very competitive. People are really excited for it, but people were especially excited for the tokens in this structure deck. There's 5 different ones that are really cool looking, and 2 of the ones that people were very excited for were the Ecclesia and Albaz tokens that when combined look like one big artwork. And I want to make it clear here that people were very excited for these token cards. People liked the artwork on them, at least from what I saw online. But in the TCG, Konami revealed that alongside the Albaz structure deck, they're giving us a deck box and sleeves and a binder and a mat, and that's fine on paper, but people were really mad about the mat. So basically, we have the 2 artworks for these tokens, but because the artworks weren't actually meant to go right next to each other, Konami put this big black line in the middle of the mat. It looks ridiculous. I'm not going to try and pretend that it doesn't. I think the main problem here and why they probably shouldn't have made this mat in the first place is that the artworks on the token cards are not from the same angle. The Ecclesia one is like slightly to the left and the Albaz one is slightly to the right, so their artworks do not perfectly match up. Now when you have 2 token cards, you don't really notice this as much because when you put the cards next to each other, you still have the borders on the tokens, but when you put them right next to each other on a mat, it is pretty noticeable. And I'm sure Konami decided to make this mat because people were so excited for the tokens in the structure deck that why wouldn't you put their artworks on a mat? But it just doesn't work. And I think we can compare this to the recently released IP Masquerena game mat because that one also features 2 card artworks that do not go together, but people seem to really like that one. I've seen a lot of people using it since it's been released. So this IP Masquerena game mat, I think, makes a few different design decisions from the Fallen of Albaz structure deck game mat that I think make people like it quite a bit more. First off, the line is not exactly down the middle, it is off center and it's on an angle, which does help sort of blend things together. Also, I feel like the decision to make the motorcycle go over the line a little bit does blend the 2 artworks together even more. And I think that people recognize that these aren't supposed to go together, unlike the Albaz mat where the artworks look like they're supposed to combine, but they don't quite combine. So it looks a little bit weird because you think in your head, these should go together, but they don't when I look at the mat. I've not been able to come up with a solution for the Albaz structure deck mat. I don't really know how they would have made this not look ridiculous. Maybe they could have used these token artworks on the binder where you could have put one artwork on the front and the other on the back. That would have been pretty cool, and then you wouldn't have had this mat with a giant line through it. Anyway, that is all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about these 2 complaints? I mean, do these things really matter to you, or do you not really care? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. I'll see you later though. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.